In 16th century, the world is about to witness the death of an empire. In the heart of Mexico, a city unlike anything Europe had ever imagined rises from the waters, Tenochtitlan. Floating gardens, towering temples, marketplaces bursting with gold and color. A city of 200,000 souls, ruled by warriors who had never known defeat. And then, they came. Not an army, but a handful of strangers from across the sea. Fewer than 600 men, steel on their bodies, fire in their hands, hunger in their eyes. Led by Hernán Cortés, every law of war said they should be crushed. And yet, history did not bend to numbers. It bent to something else. Something unseen, something carried across the ocean, hidden in a single breath. The clash between Spaniard and Aztec would not only be fought with swords, shields, and fire. It would be fought by an enemy too small to see, too merciless to stop. This is not the story of conquest by steel. This is the story of a civilization undone by the invisible. The year is 1520. The Valley of Mexico stretches like a green jewel beneath the mountains. At its center, rising out of the shining waters of Lake Texcoco, stands Tenochtitlan, the heart of the Aztec world. To the eyes of a European, it is a vision. To the Aztecs, it is the center of the universe. Wide causeways connect the city to the mainland. Canals run like veins through its neighborhoods, where canoes glide silently beneath the shadow of great temples. At dawn, priests climb stone pyramids to greet the sun with ritual fire. In the markets, thousands barter in a roar of voices. Cocoa beans for food, feathers for jade. Obsidian blades sharp enough to sever a limb in a single stroke. But beneath the beauty lies discipline. Every boy is trained for war. Every girl for the strength of family and survival. Warriors wear jaguar pelts and eagle feathers, symbols of ferocity. The city itself is a fortress of flesh and stone. To the Aztecs, their world feels eternal. To the Spanish, who now march inland, it looks like paradise ripe for the taking. But the last year is 1519. On the shores of the Yucatan Peninsula, sails appear on the horizon. The ships are small, creaking with age. But for the people of Mexico, they are monsters from another world. On board are fewer than 600 men. Their armor glints in the sun. Their beards hang unshaven, their eyes burn with hunger. At their head is Hernán Cortés, ambitious, ruthless, a man who has gambled everything on a dream of conquest. The Spanish are few, but they are armed with things the Aztecs have never seen. Steel swords that cut through obsidian, horses that thunder like living gods, firearms that roar with smoke and flame, spitting death from a distance. Yet Cortés knows one truth: steel and gunpowder will not be enough. The Aztecs are many, too many. So Cortés turns to a weapon deadlier than steel: politics. He seeks out the tribes who groan beneath Aztec tribute, villages who have lost sons and daughters to Aztec sacrifice, enemies who have waited for years to strike back. One by one, they join him, until Cortés marches inland, not with 600 men, but with thousands of native allies at his side. Weeks of marching through jungles and mountains bring them at last to a ridge overlooking the Valley of Mexico. And there, rising from the glittering waters of Lake Texcoco, they see it, Tenochtitlan. Even the Spaniards, hardened by war, are struck silent. A city larger than Paris, larger than Rome. White temples rise above the lake like stone mountains. Bridges stretch like arms to the mainland. Canoes swarm the water like insects. Bernal Diaz del Castillo, a Spanish foot soldier, later writes, "When we saw so many cities and villages built in the water and other great towns on dry land, we were amazed and said that it was like the enchantments they tell of in the legend of Amadis." To the Spaniards, it is a miracle. To Cortés, it is a prize. The gates of Tenochtitlan open. At the center of the city, in a palace of stone, waits Emperor Moctezuma II, draped in turquoise gold and feathers. He is a ruler both feared and divine. The Spaniards kneel. Gifts are exchanged: gold, cloaks, food. But beneath the ceremony, tension simmers. Some say Moctezuma believes Cortés may be the god Quetzalcoatl, returned as prophecy foretold. Others argue he welcomes them only to control them, to keep the strangers close. Whatever the reason, the Spanish are allowed inside. They walk streets filled with tens of thousands of Aztec citizens. each one watching in silence. For a moment, it feels as though two worlds might coexist, but greed and mistrust are seeds that will not stay buried. It begins with whispers. The Spanish demand too much gold. They insult the gods. They desecrate the temples. And then, massacre. During a great Aztec festival, when nobles and warriors gather unarmed to dance and sing, Spanish soldiers lock the gates. Steel swords flash. Men, women, and children are cut down. Blood runs between the stones of the temple courtyard. The city erupts in fury. The Spaniards, once guests, are now prisoners inside the greatest city in the Americas. Aztec warriors rise by the tens of thousands. Spears, clubs, obsidian swords hammer against Spanish armor. Stones rain from the rooftops. Cortés and his men fight their way to the causeways in a desperate retreat. Horses plunge into the canals. Men drown beneath the weight of stolen gold. The Spanish call it La Noche Triste, the night of sorrows. Hundreds die. The survivors stagger into the darkness, bloodied and broken. It seems the Aztecs have won. It seems the invaders are finished. But history has other plans. The Spaniards limp away from Tenochtitlan after La Noche Triste, broken, wounded, their numbers slashed in half. The Aztecs celebrate. They believe the invaders have been crushed, that the gods have avenged the insult to their temples. But something else has entered the city. Something that does not bleed, does not march, does not wield a sword. It comes quietly, carried in the breath of a single African slave, brought across the ocean. It is smallpox. At first, the Aztecs do not understand. A child grows feverish. A priest cannot stand. A warrior's skin erupts in boils that fester and split. Within weeks, it spreads like wildfire. The crowded markets fall silent. Bodies pile in doorways. Canoes drift empty across the canals. The disease shows no mercy. It strikes nobles and commoners alike. Even the emperor himself, Moctezuma's successor, Cuitlahuac, succumbs within weeks of taking the throne. For every Spaniard killed by obsidian blades, smallpox kills 100 Aztecs. Entire families vanish overnight. Streets become graveyards. The air itself smells of death. And the warriors who once filled the city's armies, they are too weak to lift a weapon. When Cortés returns months later, he is no longer a fugitive. He comes with thousands of native allies at his side, tribes eager to see the Aztec Empire burn. But the city he finds is not the same. The proud capital of Tenochtitlan is weakened, starving, hollowed by disease. The siege begins. Spanish ships, built piece by piece and dragged over mountains, are launched onto Lake Texcoco. They cut off the city's food. They sever its causeways. Canoes are smashed to splinters by cannon fire. Inside the city, the Aztecs fight with everything they have left. Starving men take up spears. Women hurl stones from rooftops. Priests sacrifice themselves upon the temples, calling upon the gods to save their world. But the gods remain silent. Day after day, the fighting rages. The canals run red with blood. Temples crumble under cannon fire. The Spaniards are relentless, and behind them march native allies, tens of thousands of warriors who once bled under Aztec tribute, now tasting vengeance in fire and steel. By August 1521, the end is near. The city, once a jewel of the world, is a ruin of smoke and ash. The last Aztec emperor, Cuauhtémoc, is captured trying to flee across the lake. He is dragged before Cortés, defiant even in chains. "I have done what I could in defense of my city and my people," he declares. "Now take this dagger and strike me down." But Cortés refuses. Cuauhtémoc will live not as an emperor, but as a symbol of Spain's conquest. On August 13th, 1521, Tenochtitlan falls. The empire that had ruled the Valley of Mexico for centuries is no more. What steel and gunpowder could not do, disease had accomplished. The Aztecs did not fall to Spanish bravery. They did not fall to superior numbers. They fell to an invisible enemy, an enemy carried across an ocean, against which no empire could stand. In the ashes of Tenochtitlan, a new city will rise, Mexico City. But beneath its stones lie the bones of millions, victims of war, disease, and fate. The story of the conquest is often told as triumph, a tale of courage, strategy, and victory. But beneath the Spanish chronicles lies a darker truth. The Aztec Empire was not defeated in battle. It was consumed by a plague that reshaped continents. It is a reminder that the mightiest civilizations can fall, not to armies, but to enemies unseen. That history is not always written by strength, but by chance, and that sometimes the deadliest weapon of all is the one you cannot see.